Hey everybody, so this is the patio I built over at my mom's house, and on the inside I've got this little lid, so the idea is, whenever we want to put the fire out, we can just put this lid on and also try to reduce the amount of water getting in where the actual burn area is. On the inside we've got firing with holes in it. I'm not sure how well it's showing up on camera, to try to reduce the smoke. And then we've just got some lava rocks at the bottom, just so the fire is not directly on the sand below it. And then these caps I put here because, let me pick one up and move it. Alright, so I put those caps there to try and fill in these gaps. So the idea is when the fire's going, air will be sucked in. For example, I have 3 of these little holes at the bottom. Air will be sucked in here, and then I want it to rise up and then come out here to feed the fire with fresh air. The only thing is, with these gaps, if I didn't have those caps on here, I was thinking the air would just come straight up. And it's been too hot to really test this with a fire, but that's what I'm thinking at least. I also might have to drill a little hole at the bottom to try to feed the fire down there, but I'm not sure yet. I'll see once I actually test this out. Alright, so let's do a cost breakdown real quick before we get into how I made this. I got this fire pit ring and the fire pit lid from this guy on Etsy, this Cutting Steel Edgeworks, because I think it was really good quality stuff, and I didn't want to get something cheap that I'd have to replace. I got this spray paint because it's raw steel. It needs to be spray painted or else it'll just rust. I got these pavers, so they were on sale for 25 cents each. I got these retaining wall blocks for the actual fire pit, and I got 60 of those. I got 60 feet of this paver edging, and then I had got 100 of these landscaping stakes. And then I got 3 packs of this polymeric sand. I had to get like 46 of these paver sands. The amount they say they cover is not true. I got 3 of these lava rock packs. And then I also had to rent a plate compactor, so everything added up was $1766.50. I also had to get 6 tons of gravel, which I don't have a picture of that. One thing about this is I didn't put the cost for the concrete caps, because when I did those, I actually had that dug for free, and I just had the foam and I made the molds, so it didn't cost me anything. First thing I did was I made a 17-foot circle, because I wanted my patio to be 16-foot diameter, and you need at least an extra 6 inches all around, just for structural reasons. So this is just pictures where I was digging everything up, and that was miserable. But then once I had it all dug up, I started trying to level it all out, and I wanted a little bit of a slope for runoff. Alright, so I've got most of this leveled out. I still need to do this right side. I've got about maybe like 30% of the circle left to finish leveling. Alright, now I've all got it leveled out to how I want it to be. And the next thing is I'm going to get some gravel ordered and put the gravel down here. Alright, so here, this is where the fire pit lid and ring I was just spray painting it. And I just put a couple of coats of this Rust-Oleum spray paint. It'll scrape off, so you need extra laying around to be able to touch it up. But it's just inevitable that some of the paint will come off and then it'll start to rust a little bit. So you're really just going to have to keep up with it and maintain it. Once it was all done, I thought it looked pretty good. This was just some pictures we had taken, and then also the handles are separate, so I had spray painted them separately, of course, and put it all together. Now the gravel had come in, and I had put these stakes in the ground. That was a mistake. I took those out, and then I just started scraping it all around with a landscaping rake and tamping it down a little bit. And then we had rented the plate compactor, and then I did this over the course of a week. it took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to level out all the gravel and get it in. Alright, so now what I've done is I've set up string lines going across both ways to try to find about where the center is. And I've measured from the center across all 4 directions to make sure I have at least what my outside diameter will be, which is just under 96 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a stake and I'm going to put the stake right in the center, right here. So I went ahead and put down a brick that is measured about 87 13/16 from the center. And the reason for that is because I'm going to tie a string around the stake I put in the center, and I'm going to get it just to the length so that it touches that brick. Because I know that every single brick in this circle, the corners should touch that string if it's exactly that distance. So I put all the pavers down, and I had to do a little bit of adjusting on them just to get it looking right, because there was a little bit of a space. It didn't fit exactly perfect. But now what I'm just going to do is I'm going to go through and put this paver edging down all the way around the circle, and I'm just going to be staking it down with these little metal stakes for it. Alright, so I picked up all the pavers that I used to make the circle after I finished installing the paver edging, and then I had a bunch of extra metal stakes because I ordered 100 thinking I would need that many, so I just went ahead and put them in random holes. Alright, so I've been going around and putting down the sand, and I'm working on putting the bricks in for the outside circle first. So the way I'm doing this is I have 2 6-foot 3/4 inch galvanized pipes, so the outside diameter of these is a little over 1 inch, and I'm just lining them up kind of, you know, against the curve, so I have something I can reference off of. And then I'm going to fill in some sand right here, and I'm going to use another pipe as a screed to just smooth it all out to the same level. So I'm going to go ahead and add some sand right here. Alright, so I can't really record this too well, but the idea is you'll take a pipe and you'll make sure it's pressing down on both of these pipes, and just kind of use it as a screed and go through and level everything out. But of course I'm going to need 2 hands for this, and I'm going to use the bigger pipe for doing this. Another thing is I got this Colorscape paver sand brand, and the last bag I opened was full of these rocks, so that was really frustrating. Maybe try to see if there's a better brand whenever you go to buy this. Alright, so I've gone around the circle and I've got all the sand down. I put these pavers down, and I went ahead and I just walked on them all to try to begin setting them. And now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to hit them all with this rubber mallet just to try and set them in a little bit better. And then I guess I'll start screeding in towards the middle. Alright, so now I have put down all the pavers that I can without cutting things, and over here I've started on cutting and placing the pavers to fill out the space between the inside and the outer circle. When I had to pick up the pipes, I filled in those areas using this little putty knife, and I kind of just did my best to get it all flat with that, because I didn't really know a good way to do it without the pipes being there to screed against. So now I'm just going to take bricks and place them, and I'm scribing against them with this masonry chisel. And then over here I'm using a angle grinder, and I'm just cutting them on the top and the bottom over here When you do that, make sure you have obviously like wear eye protection and then probably ear protection, and definitely some kind of respirator or mask or something, because breathing that dust in when you cut the pavers is like deadly, so you don't want to do that. This is what I'm using, and it was like $200 I think, so it's kind of expensive, but it's really nice. The lens doesn't fog up at all, which usually every time I have safety glasses on, they just fog up constantly. And yeah, the only thing is that, yeah, it's kind of expensive, so if you don't want to get this, I understand, but I would recommend getting one of these. And I'll have a link to this in the description if you want to check out this particular one. Alright, so I'm nearly done cutting and putting the pavers in. There's still a few spots I'm going to try and see if I can cut to fit, like this and that triangle, and a few others around here. One thing to note is when you're cutting these pavers, it makes like a huge mess. It gets this dust everywhere, which of course that's why you wear the mask. You don't want to breathe that in. And if it's wet, the dust can't form, but I didn't want to like wet them all and sit there and try to cut them. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna try and fill this in, and then I'll update when I get that done. It's like we got some visitors. Alright, so now I have all of the retaining wall blocks, and I've been working on removing the lips off of them so that they'll stack flat on each other. And I'm just using this fiberglass hammer with this masonry chisel to do that. So for me, I found the easiest way is to just take the chisel, put it at an angle like this, and just rest it in my hand, and then with the hammer just tap it on the back. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses. Some of the, you know, it's not going to be perfectly flat probably. You'll have some ridges, but this is all on the inside, so nobody will see this, so I'm not really concerned about it. Alright, so I've finished cutting and placing all the pavers. So I went ahead and placed a fire ring as close to the middle as I could get. That rock is marked where the middle is. So it's it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't really care if it's perfect, but it's close enough. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stones that will go around the fire pit, and I'm going to start putting them around here. And the first layer I'm going to have come out a little bit because I want there to be a little gap for air to go in at the bottom. So I'm going to just start lining up those stones, and then I'll be able to mark and figure out which pavers I need to take out and which pavers I need to cut. Alright, so I'm able to fit 12 stones around this to complete the smallest circle around it. So I'm probably going to have a gap every 4 stones, so I'll have 3 gaps total, and then it won't look too strange. And I'm just going to move these back a little bit in the sections of 4 until it kind of looks right, and then I'll mark the pavers. Alright, I'm really sick of cutting pavers. I tried to move these around to minimize the amount of cuts I'd have to take. I'm not even sure if this is really going to look good, but I guess we will see once everything's cut. But looks like I have to do about 23 cuts. I think it was like 22 or 23, so could be worse. But next thing I'm going to do is turn off the camera, get the ring out of the way, pick all the pavers up out of the center, and then I'll just start taking these blocks off and then taking the pavers under them that need to be cut and finishing the marks on the bottom and going and cutting them and then putting them back in and then putting the blocks on top of the sand. I finished cutting the pavers out for the stones for the fire pit, and I think it came out pretty good. Of course, it's not perfect, but I am not a professional, I'm just some guy. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down to Lowe's and get some landscape rocks. I'm gonna come back here and I'm going to level out all of these stones with each other so that it's perfectly level. And then I'm going to stack up the other stones on it and then put the fire ring on top. And then I'll put some of the lava rocks down at the bottom so that the fire won't be on the sand. Okay, so I have finally leveled my 4 sets of these blocks, and I'm just going to take all these blocks and build up the wall for this. Alright, so I went ahead and finished this up and rested the lid on this top layer, and then I filled this up. Well, not filled it up, I put in 3 bags of half cubic foot of lava rock, and I figured that should be about 3 inches. So I don't know, I'm not really sure if I want to add more or what I want to do. I still have to pull out this fire pit ring and drill some holes at the bottom where I had the openings. So like, for example, over here I would want to drill a hole that corresponds to that hole, so that way, you know, the air can, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I still need to figure out what I'm going to do on the top here. I wanted to put something to hold this down, as well as to close these gaps. Alright, so I've been putting down the sand, the polymeric sand, and sweeping it in, and I've just got a little more to go. Alright, so I've finished leaf blowing the patio, and look at the instructions on here. It says spread the product around, brush it in with a broom. It says you can use the plate compactor to kind of compact it. I didn't do that. Spread more product, fill the joints, whatever. Did that, removed excess with the broom, used the leaf blower, and I guess the next thing is I'm going to spray it with water for 30 seconds in each area. Alright, so this is what it looks like now, and I'm probably just going to spray a little bit more water over on this side. Some of the coloring is a little bit strange. I think I might just have to add a little more water around these. Maybe there was some dust on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so I just finished spraying the whole thing down. I probably did a bit more than, I did more than 30 seconds for every section, but I'm going to stop it there, and I guess I'm just going to let this sit and see what ends up happening. One thing I noticed was down here on the outside, I wasn't really able to get that filled in because it would just come right out. So I might take something like styrofoam or plywood and extend this edge from the paver edging so that I can fill that in and then re-wet that and get that to set. But for now, I'm just going to let this sit here and cure. For those caps, the cement caps on top, I made styrofoam molds and we put concrete in them. And they didn't come out perfect, and it was really difficult to do this, or at least it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. The video I originally watched where the guy did it, he made it seem really easy. But yep, that's how I made the 4 caps on top. I made 4 different molds and then put concrete into them.